the ancient lands of Eastern Europe, there lived a man whose name inspired fear amongst the people. To some, he was the epitome of evil, a monster who delighted in the suffering of others. They whispered tales of his psychopathic tendencies and believed him to be the devil himself. His favorite method of execution, impaling his victims on sharpened stakes, earned him the gruesome moniker Vlad the Impaler. But there were others who saw a different side of Vlad. They hailed him as a God-fearing defender of Christianity, a hero who stood defiantly against the mighty and Muslim-dominated Ottoman Empire. In a time of turmoil and war, Vlad was a symbol of resistance, a man willing to do whatever it took to protect his people and preserve his kingdom's sovereignty. Today, we remember Vlad the Impaler, not only for his historical significance, but also as the inspiration behind one of literature's most enduring and chilling characters, Count Dracula. Vlad III was born in 1431 in the northern Romanian state of Wallachia. His father, Vlad II, was a prominent figure who aspired to rule Wallachia. He was a man of valor and ambition, seeking to join the knightly order of the Dragon. Upon his acceptance, he was granted the title Dracul, meaning dragon in ancient Romanian but devil in the modern tongue. His son, born into a world plagued by territorial disputes and power struggles, was thus named Dracula, signifying son of Dracul. During Vlad's early years, his father served as a guard commander of the mountain passes in Wallachia. Little is known about Vlad's mother, for his father, Vlad II, was married to a princess of Moldavia, but also had a series of mistresses who could have potentially given birth to Vlad. As the years passed, Vlad's formative days were spent in Sihisoara. However, when his father eventually ascended to the throne of Wallachia in 1436, Vlad and his younger brother Radu were brought to live in the royal court in Targovist, where they enjoyed a privileged upbringing. But the blissful life at the royal court was shattered when a rival group supported by the Hungarians ousted Vlad II from power, turning their lives upside down. In his desperation, Vlad the Coon sought an alliance with the formidable Ottoman Empire, hoping to reclaim his throne. The Ottomans, led by the powerful Sultan Mehmed II, saw an opportunity to expand their influence in the region. They agreed to aid Vlad Sr., but it came with a price. The exiled ruler had to pledge his loyalty to the Sultan and pay tribute in return. As a guarantee of his commitment, Vlad's two sons, Vlad III and Radu, were taken as prisoners and held captive at the Ottoman court. Forced into an unfamiliar and at times terrifying environment, the two brothers reacted differently. Radu, the younger one, adapted to his new life, embracing the teachings and eventually converting to Islam. He found favor with the Ottomans and became a servant in their court. On the other hand, Vlad III resisted relentlessly. Despite enduring punishments for his rebellious demeanor, he refused to submit to his captors. However, in this time of turmoil and adversity, young Vlad was silently observing the Ottoman tactics, learning from their use of terror as a means to an end. With the Ottomans' backing, Vlad Sr. managed to regain his throne, but the taste of power was fleeting. Hungarian-backed rebels soon launched another attack, driving Vlad and his oldest son, Mircea II, into exile once more. Eventually, they were both captured and executed. This left the stubborn and determined Vlad, only 16 years old, as the rightful heir to the Wallachian throne. Unexpectedly, the Ottomans, who had grown fond of the young prince, fulfilled their promise and helped him overthrow the rebel ruler in 1448. Vlad III, now known as Dracula, had come full circle, and his reign of terror was about to begin. However, his reign in Wallachia was short-lived. As soon as the Ottomans left, the Hungarians returned and forced Dracula to seek refuge in the lands of Moldavia under the protection of his uncle, Prince Bogdan II. However, fate once again intervened when tragedy struck Moldavia. Bogdan was assassinated, and Vlad was forced to flee alongside his cousin, Prince Stephen. Their path led them to Transylvania, where they encountered a formidable Hungarian warrior named John Hunyadi, a fierce opponent of the Ottoman Empire. At first, Hunyadi supported the rule of Vladislav II in Wallachia, but their alliance crumbled due to Vladislav's appeasement of the Ottomans. The Ottoman Empire seemed unstoppable, having conquered the illustrious city of Constantinople. With Europe trembling in fear, securing Wallachia became a matter of utmost urgency. In 1456, Vlad seized the opportunity with the support of Hunyadi and led an army back into Wallachia. On the battlefield, he confronted Vladislav III in a fierce and deadly hand-to-hand combat, ending the usurper's reign with a single strike. With Vladislav's death, Vlad reclaimed his rightful place as the ruler of Wallachia. His iron-fisted rule and brutal methods would etch his name indelibly in history as Vlad the Impaler. In the wake of his triumphant return to the throne of Wallachia, Vlad Dracula, filled with ambition and a thirst for power, looked beyond his borders. However, even after establishing a formidable alliance across the vast expanse of the Balkans, Vlad's heart still burned with a hunger for vengeance. Determined to avenge the treachery against his father, he dispatched his spies to uncover the names of all those involved in the plot. Once the list was assembled, Vlad cunningly invited the traitors and their families to a grand Easter feast. As the unsuspecting guests arrived, they were swiftly arrested. The older conspirators faced a grisly fate, impaled on stakes before their horrified families. The children were not spared either. They were enslaved and forced to toil tirelessly in reconstructing Vlad's castle. Yet once their labor was complete, they were also executed. But Vlad's vengeful crusade didn't end there. Driven by a strict moral code, he sought to impose his own twisted version of justice upon his people. Any deviation from his strictures was met with unspeakable cruelty. He developed an unnerving obsession with female chastity, and any woman found to have transgressed, whether through premarital relations or infidelity, faced a horrific fate. Impalement awaited these unfortunate souls, with the entry point being their genitalia, and often their breasts were severed as well. To add a further grotesque twist, the men who had shared in the forbidden acts were forced to consume the severed breasts. Vlad's intolerance extended beyond matters of morality. Beggars, in his eyes, were parasites, living off the hard work of others. He gathered all the beggars from Wallachia and invited them to a seemingly benevolent feast within a centrally located wooden hall. However, as soon as they had filled their bellies, Vlad had the doors bolted shut and the hall set ablaze. In this horrifying act, he believed he had cleansed his realm of the blight of poverty. The ominous threat of the Ottoman Empire still loomed large across Europe. In the year 1460, a call for a new crusade to reclaim Constantinople and push back the Ottoman forces emanated from Pope Pius II in Italy. The mission was to be spearheaded by Matthias Corvinus, the valiant son of the late John Hunyadi. With unwavering determination, Matthias embarked on a tour across European kingdoms, seeking support for the noble endeavor. Yet the response was disheartening. Amidst the rulers and monarchs, only one man stood resolute in the face of the encroaching Ottoman peril, Vlad Dracula, the fearsome ruler of Wallachia. Fearless and committed to safeguarding his kingdom from the Turkish onslaught, Vlad forged an alliance with Matthias Corvinus, pledging to stand united against their common foe. As the years progressed, the Ottoman Empire's grip extended, swallowing Greece in 1461 as a weak ruler surrendered without resistance. The Sultan now turned his gaze towards Wallachia, declaring it a part of the Ottoman dominion. In a show of force, the Sultan's envoys arrived at Vlad's imposing castle, demanding a tribute of 10,000 ducats and 500 men to be conscripted into the Turkish army. However, the Sultan had gravely underestimated the young Wallachian ruler. Vlad Dracula, undeterred by the threat and emboldened by a thirst for retribution, would rise to meet the challenge with a cunning and merciless resolve. As the Sultan's envoys arrived, they refused to remove their turbans as a sign of respect. In a fit of rage, Vlad had his guards drive nails through the turbans and into the envoys' skulls, sending a clear message to the Sultan. As the year 1461 drew to a close, Vlad's actions escalated tensions further. He wrote to the Sultan claiming inability to pay a tribute but offering to negotiate in Constantinople. The enraged Sultan decided to take matters into his own hands and sent a powerful cavalry to ambush Vlad during the meeting. However, Vlad proved to be one step ahead. Learning of the impending ambush, he planned a counterattack. When the Turks approached, Vlad and his army struck with deadly precision, employing gunpowder in one of the first instances known in history, decimating the enemy forces. The majority of the captured Turks met the cruel fate of impalement. With his thirst for blood unquenched, Vlad's wrath extended beyond his borders. He led his army into Ottoman-controlled territories in Bulgaria, spreading fear and death wherever he went. Towns and villages fell under his ruthless sword, leaving behind a trail of destruction and an estimated 23,000 dead in a mere 2 weeks. As a response, the outraged Sultan dispatched a massive force of 18,000 troops to destroy a port in Wallachia. However, their hopes were shattered by Vlad's larger army, which stood 30,000 strong. The Turks faced utter defeat. These swift victories earned Vlad a heroic reputation throughout Europe, even gaining praise from the Pope. The Ottomans, unwilling to let this defiance persist, gathered a colossal army of 150,000 with a sole mission to find and kill Vlad Dracula. The hunt for Vlad the Impaler was about to reach a climax, with the entire might of the Ottoman Empire bearing down upon him. A momentous battle unfolded between the fearsome Vlad Dracula and the formidable Ottoman forces led by Sultan Mehmed. With an army of around 30,000, Vlad's men found themselves severely outnumbered and outmatched in weaponry. They wielded only lances and daggers, while the Turks boasted deadly archers and siege weapons. But Vlad was not one to be easily intimidated. As the Turks advanced, Vlad employed cunning and brutal tactics to resist their onslaught. Scorched earth became his strategy, poisoning wells and evacuating entire populations from their path. Engaging in guerrilla warfare, he launched hit-and-run raids, even resorting to a primitive form of biological warfare by sending plague-afflicted men into Turkish towns. Despite Vlad's resourcefulness and tenacity, the vastly superior Turkish army proved to be a formidable adversary. The relentless march of the Ottoman forces brought them ever closer to Vlad's stronghold at Targovist, where he and his army sought refuge in a mountain retreat near the city. With his forces encircled and facing starvation, Vlad concocted a daring plan. Disguising himself, he infiltrated the Turkish encampment, skillfully gathering vital intelligence. Learning the location of the Sultan's tent and his nightly orders to remain inside, Vlad prepared for a surprise attack. With this new information, he divided his forces into two and launched a devastating assault from the north and south. The Turks were caught off guard, and the attackers inflicted heavy casualties. In a savage hour of fighting, more than 15,000 Turks fell. Vlad himself managed to enter the tent he believed to be the Sultan's, but to his dismay, it was the wrong one. Disheartened, he called off the attack and retreated back into the mountains. The Sultan, dispirited and on the brink of retreat, was persuaded by his generals to push forward. Upon reaching the city of Targovist, they found it eerily deserted, except for a gruesome sight of impaled Turkish soldiers from previous battles. With the city empty, the Sultan declared Radu, Vlad's younger brother, as the new ruler of Wallachia and prepared to return to the Danube. Radu, loyal to the Ottomans, circled Vlad's castle, perched on a cliff outside the city. Inside the castle, Vlad's first wife stood firm, vowing not to surrender to the Turks. With a final act of defiance, she threw herself from the castle walls into the river below. Vlad knew that he needed to regroup and muster a stronger force if he had any hope of reclaiming his lost kingdom. So he embarked on a journey to Hungary, seeking the military support of his ally, Matthias Corvinus. Upon reaching Hungary, Vlad was heartened by Matthias's seeming agreement to aid him. The two leaders even devised battle plans together. But unbeknownst to Vlad, Matthias had secretly betrayed him. Driven by ambition to become the Holy Roman Emperor, Matthias needed an end to hostilities with the Turks. To achieve his grand aspirations, he orchestrated an ambush, capturing the Impaler and taking him as his prisoner. For the next 4 years, Vlad languished in captivity, his fate seemingly sealed. Vlad converted to Catholicism and met Ilona, King Matthias's cousin. As Matthias softened towards his prisoner, he allowed the two to marry, and just before the ceremony, he released Vlad. The couple was given a home in Hungary. Despite the strict instructions not to return to Wallachia, Vlad's resolve to reclaim his rightful throne remained unyielding. In secret collaboration with a former military commander, he assembled an army composed of Hungarian, Transylvanian, Wallachian and Moldavian forces. In the middle of 1476, Vlad embarked on his daring quest. By this time, his younger brother Radu had already passed away, and Prince Basarab, the elder, had taken his place. Before Vlad even reached Targovista, Basarab and his army fled, leaving the throne vacant for Vlad's return. Yet his makeshift army was no match for the might of the Ottomans. Despite reclaiming the throne, Vlad faced a stark reality. His forces had dwindled to a mere 4,000 men, a far cry from the strength he needed to defend his kingdom. Within 2 months of his return, the Turks launched their counterattack, and Vlad's army was soundly defeated. The exact circumstances surrounding Vlad Dracula's death remain shrouded in mystery, sparking endless debates among scholars. According to a contemporary Turkish chronicler, Vlad met his end amidst the fury of battle, his life extinguished by the hand of the enemy. The Turks, eager to ensure the demise of their notorious adversary, ruthlessly beheaded him. His severed head was then sent as a grim trophy back to Constantinople, where it was preserved in honey and put on morbid display for all to see. Throughout his reign, Vlad's iron-fisted rule left a trail of blood and horror. Historians estimate that his legacy of execution methods included over 20,000 ghastly impalements, 5,000 beheadings, and 10,000 burnings at the stake. In the end, the perspective on Vlad's life and deeds was a matter of interpretation. To some, he was a ruthless monster, leaving behind a legacy of unfathomable cruelty. To others in his homeland of Romania, he was a valiant defender against the relentless encroachment of the Ottoman Empire.